This is Vassar Clements right here playing the fiddle.
They were just here, so you know who they are.
We're the Fox family.
We're going to do a little wheelhouse, not too fast, but kind of happy. We like you guys. Thank you. Well, this is what it says out there, a workshop, and these are things, we're not going to do a concert for you. We just want to kind of sit here, and if you got anything you want to talk about fiddles or fiddle playing or whatever, now's your chance to talk to Vassar or myself about any questions you have about fiddling or any related subjects. Yes, we have a question right there.
What are you thinking about when you improvise? What's your approach? Is there anything at all going through your mind? Is it just like talking?
You're right. I don't know about you, but I don't know. Really, it's. I know I'm trying to stay within the realms of kind of the tune, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Well, we've noticed that.
I think the best way that I can explain it is I get lost, really, and try to find my way back, and I'm lucky. That's the truth. Let's face it, you're not
Vassar lives on the edge more than anybody else.
I stay on the edge.
Yeah, buddy, that's all right. Well, that's good. I'm glad we got kind of questions here. Yeah, I think she was second.
Can you just explain a little bit about different ways to do backup fiddling? Like, instead of just doing the chops all the time, what other types of things you do?
Backup fiddling. Well, yeah, that's a good question, and a lot of people wonder about what you do. I remember when I first played in a band situation, I had no idea how to back up, and I just played the lead all the time and get a lot of dirty looks. Yeah, but you finally learn to do things, and I guess depends if you're playing in a band situation. Depends on the band, of course, and stuff. But if you're backing up a singer, usually do not play the same thing they're playing. For one thing, you play third notes or play in the holes. If there's a little fill space, and you play there. And a good way to learn that is just listen to the radio or something, and listen to as many things you can to listen to see what the other instruments do to back up. And but a rule of thumb is not to play what the singer's playing, pretty much. Play around him and play harmony notes with him. And there's different ways to play backup too. I mean, different rhythmic things you can do with a fiddle. It's not just like you heard us doing little things like this a while ago. I can do this, you can do that kind of thing with it, or just all kinds of things, really. So just experiment around with it, I guess. But main thing to do if you want to practice that is just get a record or something and play along with it and try to, or else get in a jam session and try to practice it there too. Yeah,
That's right. No, I think that's exactly right. It's not covering up the singer if you're backing up a singer, and if you're just playing with another instrument. If he leaves any holes open, just kind of fill there. Just don't cover anybody up. That's the main thing, and make it try to, whoever's doing the lead on whatever, try to compliment it as much as you can. Don't try to just kind of be in a world of your own and do what you want to do. Just try to make that sound as pretty as you can.
Way back there.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could speak about your how you do slides and different types of slides.
Slides or double stops, maybe?
Well, slides into notes, slides down to notes, slide out.
Slides. Yeah, well, sure. Yeah.
What's appropriate, what's not?
When you get lost, that is when you slide. That's one time.
When you think you're going to get thrown out, you slide. I'm sorry. I just couldn't turn that down. Well, I don't know. I've never thought about that so much. I mean, there's a lot of slides. I mean, where you go up, maybe, if you're going to do something. Those are slides there. I mean, you're actually sliding, but I mean, there's not a whole, like San Antonio Road.
I think a fiddle player would do that more than somebody that plays by music. They hit right on the note, I think. A fiddle player, I think he slides a lot more.
I notice a lot of fiddle players seem to have a death grip on the left hand, and I just want to know, what does your left hand feel like? Is it really loose, sliding? Yes or no?
Yeah.
A lot of fiddle players who aren't as well trained as yourself. How does your left hand feel? How's the pressure on the string?
No, I hold it. You guys. I tell you.
The next door you do.
No, it's holding the fiddle is very comfortable with me on the left hand. Is just, I use a collapsed wrist situation. That's when my dad played. But then when I have to go up in third position or so, then I have to arch it. But it's just, the main thing is your left hand, have all the fingers up over the fingerboard where you can play. And if you have your elbow stuck out like this, it's very difficult to put your fingers up there. But if you have your elbow in, then your fingers are automatically on top of the fingerboard and easier to slide. I just hold it this way. Now you hold your fiddle up a little more of an arched wrist, don't you, Vassar? Or do you? Yeah, see, yours is a little more arched. See, mine's like that, which is.
Play us another song and show us.
You know what? I
Play
think
San Antonio Road.
that holding it without this is the reason for that. You know that?
Oh, it could be.
I'd have to do that.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah. We were talking about shoulder rest. Now Vassar uses a shoulder rest there, and most fiddle players and violinists do. I don't because it doesn't feel comfortable for me because I never did use one, and so it's difficult for me to use one now. Although I like a high chin rest,
But
you get used to it
just
and
hold
then you miss it. See? Yeah, that's the reason it is, so you can hold it here and use your wheel very free with the left hand. So I don't use one. I kind of hold it with my left hand also and keep it under my chin that way because I got it. And so I never have used one. So everybody's a little bit different, I guess. Yes.
A question for Vassar, with you on a right-hand question. Your index finger. What are you doing with your index finger?
I'm sorry?
Your index
your
finger.
right hand.
Uh-huh.
Your index finger. What are you doing with your index finger?
On the bow?
On the hair or with your pressure against your thumb. Are you pulling on that bow sometimes? I mean on the hair. No, are you pulling on the hair with your index finger? Or you,
I don't think. No, I really don't pay any attention. I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you holding the bow between your thumb and the top of that index finger up here?
You know, you can do it either way, kind of like this.
Yeah.
Or you can just grab it like a stick of stove wood.
Yeah.
Like that. But I don't know, I used to play with it like that, and it seemed like I could go all the way up to the end, you know, easier than you can. But I found out about that, that you can do it easier with holding it like this than you can the other way.
I can't.
Huh?
I can't. I have to hold mine underneath.
When
See,
I-
you hold yours in there like that.
Yeah, how you hold it?
I hold it with the thumb underneath. You know,
Well, that's the way I used to hold it.
I know it. What happened to you?
I don't know why I changed.
Well, you do. You just change. You know, you do things differently.
This guy right here.
Oh, we don't want to play. We want to talk.
This guy right here.
We have those questions people want to. You hear us play later.
Yes, sir.
Think back to bowling. Either of you have bowling exercise you remember that helped you really establish your rhythm? Start any kind of exercise you did in establishing your rhythm on the bow?
Well, I'm just speaking for myself, I'm sure.
Did we establish any exercise to establish a rhythm with the bow when we first started? I guess is that the question.
I don't know how Byron started, but I didn't have anybody that played fiddle where I was from. I got to listen to the Grand Ole Opry, you know, Saturday night. So Chubby Wise, we had a battery radio, and you couldn't keep it on very long. And I listened to the Opry about an hour, and I was sure, you know, always made sure I got Bill Monroe. And Chubby Wise was playing with me.
What age were you?
7.
7. Because I feel that I'm like a babe to bluegrass. I've only been here for 10 years. And I look around and I don't see a lot of young people coming, the younger generation. They're into rap, I don't know, but they don't come. And I want in time. Yeah, but I want that to come. And I feel that we were just up at the hill. See, this is, I'm causing all the trouble here.
No, you're talking about because a lot of young people are not here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't see a lot of young people, like 19 young people.
If you had a record company that would get behind bluegrass,
Right.
and put a video clip out like they do with country music. I've been in both fields or 3 different fields or whatever. But back to the story. What was the story? But bluegrass, there'd be a lot of kids here. Okay, the bow technique thing. Well, I just started without moving my fingers, trying to get the bow without it scratching. And I don't know how you started. And then I thought I really had it made. Then I figured out I had to put my fingers in it. So I depend on rhythm more than I do playing rhythm myself. I depend on somebody playing.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the tune you're going to play. You want to learn what you do with the bow. My dad was a fiddler, and that's where I learned to play. And so, but he taught me some tricks early on. First, you learn, if you're going to fiddle, usually learn the shuffle. That's your basic fiddle shuffle right there. And once you learn that, that is a certain rhythm that you would play on a certain tune. Usually boil a cabbage down or something like that, you know. So then if you have other type of tunes that you want to play, then you might get into a little different bow action. And And there's, like if you play Texas style fiddle or something, there's a certain bow lick for that, which is a down, kind of a clockwise motion, rolling motion with the bow, rather than a more of an up or, you know, a real straight bow. And that's the style. I mean, you can do, for instance, for Tom and Jerry, which is a tune that a lot of Texas fiddlers or just different people play, and you can do it with like a straight bow. You know what I mean? Just really real long bows, but I prefer more like that. It's more of a stroke for each note almost.
Is that the Texas?
Yeah, but you can do the same like I showed you with the more of a, and then you can get guys play faster with a real short bow, you know, or the Georgia. That accent, which is a Georgia shuffle, I call it, and right, variations in Cajun music, the same thing. It's kind of a Georgia shuffle, Cajun music. It's a different. Actually, what a bow shuffle is for the dancers to get into the beat to. I mean, that's the type of shuffle you use, and different type dances dictate the type of bow shuffle you play. But it just depends on the tune. You have to learn that along with your tune that you're going to play. I think that's the easiest way to answer that, really. What's that? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Which one of you guys plays Orange Blossom Special faster?
We don't play that. It's like Wipeout for a drummer and like steel guitar rag for a steel player. I'm sorry.
If you play a few more years, you'll learn.
Yeah, I know.
Did you have a question right here?
Yeah, when I have my bow as loose as yours are, I find myself bouncing. And are you pressing? What are you doing? Somebody asked about your index finger. What's going on that, like, especially if I chomp into something, I go kabunk, kabunk, and so I tighten it a little more.
Usually it's just the opposite. If you have a real tight bow, then it bounces more. That's the whole deal as far as loosening the bow. You won't bounce it quite so much. And if the harder you want to play, usually the tighter you put it a little bit. First, you mentioned Orange Blossom Special. You're pretty tight all the time. Just enough where it's up off the stick. If you have it down on the stick, then it's going to give it kind of a grady sound, you might say, or a kind of a not a very good sound. But a lot of fiddlers, Benny Thomason's a good fiddler that I knew who played Texas style fiddle and who taught Mark O'Connor fiddling a lot of it. Would use his just absolutely almost be on the stick, but he played real slow and not real hard. But he gave it kind of a, you hear that? Kind of a, it's not as clear if you tighten it just a little bit. The reason they did that because the bow wouldn't bounce on, get to doing this. So the more you tighten it, the more it's going to bounce, really. Okay. Yes?
Nobody seems to get more notes on one bow stroke than Vassar. He seems to go on for days.
Well, his bow's a lot longer than
Yeah. I use the Japanese bow. No. No.
The question is, how do you keep it from fading out and getting soft and losing all the projection of the instrument? You never seem to lose tone like everybody else.
I don't think that I move my bow, I hold it any longer. I just maybe trying to put more fingers into that position, that place, and so it makes it come out to where I don't get out here and give out a bow. I don't know if I'm explaining that real good or not. I'm just trying to maybe putting where you.
You're into the string harder than another fiddler. Was it like, for instance, this afternoon? I was watching you play 16 notes to the stroke. You're only using about 8 inches of bow.
2 notes per 8.
Maybe. You talking about the three strings or stuff like that? Well, that's just I flatten my bridge out, kind of to where I can hit this. Yeah, it's where I can. But notes is that something like where you do. I just get. Where is that? In Kearney? I don't know, but I hope soon. All right.
We'll play it out too. We'll do that and then go to E.
We'll do this in D and then go to E.
We'll do the Good Woman's Love for you. Strictly unrehearsed, you know now.
Yeah.
nice question over there, the pink cap on and everything.
Thank you. I have 2 questions.
2 questions, okay.
First question. When are you guys going to make an album together?
Well, you know, we talked about that a long time ago, didn't we, Vassar?
Yes.
Years ago. We just never have gotten around to it. Maybe someday we will.
Second question is, how do you guys deal with, especially in outdoor concerts, with the moisture affecting the horsehair on the bow?
Yeah.
Problems with that?
That's
Just-
hard.
Just keep cranking on it. It actually, it does,
You gonna heat it up or anything? Or?
no,
It just, I have seen the time that you just can't crank, it will not get tight enough.
Yeah.
And it, last night was a good, it was headed that way. Last night, it's hard to keep rosin on it. And I don't know, I wiped this thing off 3 times after I got through and it still felt real sticky. But it's hard to keep rosin on it.
yeah, it is. But you just, that's the hazards of playing outside. Yes, did you have a question? Well, that's a good question. She wants to know how we both got started in playing the fiddle. Do you want to answer that first, Vassar? I guess you kind of answered a while ago, didn't you? Listening to the Grand Ole Opry? That's
Yeah,
what got
that.
you
Well, I
into it?
started playing guitar and fiddle about the same time, but fiddle seemed like it was harder for me to get anything out of. It seemed like I could never figure it out. And guitar, I could learn some chords on it, and I thought I was doing real good. But a fiddle, I couldn't get nothing but a lot of screeching out of, and it just bothered me. It became, you know, just I just thought I had to do it. And so every time I'd go pick up an instrument, it was the fiddle instead of the guitar.
Well, my dad was a fiddle player, so I had a in-house teacher, you might say. My dad was an old-time fiddler and played for a lot of barn dances. And when I was young, he started taking me a lot of fiddle contests around Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. And then when I went down to Texas, I met a lot of the Texas fiddlers down there and liked those guys. And then met a group called the Dillards. I may have heard of them. And that got me into bluegrass. When I went to college, folk music was real big, of course, in the 60s, and of course bluegrass was involved in that too. And so I was invited to the Newport Folk Festival. Have any of you got that CD or album that's out yet? It's the Newport Folk Festival, released 1964-65. My dad and I are on the first 4 cuts. I'm very proud of that. And but that was a lot of fun. No, that's right. Here's Gene Loringer sitting right here. And Gene was a fiddler with Bill Monroe at the time. When I first met Bill, and Gene was playing the fiddle, and we got up there and played some triple fiddles with Tex Logan. That was fun. And of course, you also played with the New York City Ramblers, wasn't it? That was '64, wasn't it? Yeah. So that brings back a lot of memories. Yes.
This is actually a question for Vassar. I noticed, Vassar, when you play a lot of your breaks, I can never tell where you're going. You just hear blues scales, or...
I know it sounds like a joke again,
No.
but I don't know exactly. I honestly don't. I know the beginning, hopefully, and the end, but as far as in between, see, there's so many different things that you think you can put in there, but if you think too long, you've already gone by it. And that's the reason every time it seems like there's something different. And there probably is, because I can't remember. For instance, if I have to go to a recording session and they don't tell me that I have to go back and twin with my own playing, if they don't tell me ahead of time, I can't do it. It would take me forever.
Really?
But if they tell me I'm going to have to do it, then I try to think about what I'm doing.
So did you practice blues scales or something like that at one time, or?
Not really. I think as far as the blues part goes, I think that's kind of built in you. I think everybody feels it a different way. I've always felt blues. For some reason or other, I don't know why, but I've loved it. And I try to figure out every blues note that I can. I used to, and still do.
I noticed a lot of jazz elements come into your playing now that I didn't hear a number of years back. What have you been doing with that?
I grew up with the big bands, Tommy Dorsett, Glenn Miller, people like that. I never really knew what jazz was, and I still don't really know the what you would call jazz. and I didn't think that I even played close to jazz, but I had these big band tunes in my mind, and when I first was trying to play them, I would try to make the fiddle sound like a bunch of horns, and that's one reason I flattened out the bridge, to try to get that particular sound. And I would try to learn notes maybe a saxophone player is doing or something like that. But that's the reason for that, I guess.
What was it like working with Grappelli? Recorded something with him
Real.
What was that like?
It was really good. I had only got to speak with, just to say hello one time before that. And a friend of both of ours from Athens, Georgia, got the recording thing together. And we just went in there, like, I think it was one day, and we did this. And I think 3 of the tunes I might have known, and the others was just help, you know. But it showed the identity of 2 different styles, and when we were playing together, I think it come off real good, because you couldn't really tell a whole lot there. But when we were taking breaks, you had 2 different, really, you could tell 2 different identities.
Yes.
I'm just learning the fiddle and I've never played another instrument, so I don't understand the structure of music, and I'm having a real hard time tuning. And I'm wondering if there are any tricks or tips you could give me so I can kind of lock in that.
You mean just tuning the fiddle or noting?
And knowing, you know, where I want to be, you know, what that sound is like. I don't have it in my head yet.
Now, let me get something straight. Are you mean tuning the violin or the fiddle?
Yeah.
Well, it's what you could do. I mean, as far as getting just the fiddle and tuning in itself. I mean, there's all kind of tuners out nowadays.
For the fiddle, I've seen them for guitar.
Well, the same thing. I mean, it's
but you know, I have one, and it's so wavery that I can't tell if I'm, you know, it's just back and forth. So I don't know, you know.
Yeah,
Is there
well,
a harmonic you hit like a guitar player?
if you have a pitch pipe, use that, and just get as close as you can to the pitch pipe. You know,
Is that
E, A, D, G.
Is that something that comes more and more as you get more familiar with the instrument?
Yeah, it's a lot of people use tuners now because sometimes it's so hard to tune outside or someplace where there's a lot of noise and so forth. Sometimes it's easier to tune up with a tuner.
Thanks.
But it's and once you get familiar with, if you get one string in tune, then it's pretty easy to get the rest of them in tune if you're familiar with what it sounds like. You get familiar with that sound over and over and over, you know, then you'll know where to go. Yes?
Did we know each other? We did kind of, no, wait a minute. I hadn't met any of those guys by then. Pete Rowan at that time had already played with Monroe, and I knew of him, and I knew of David Grissom. But I didn't know Jerry Garcia or John Kahn at all. And I never had met Grissom or Peter Rowan. And I think Pete called the house and asked if I would do the gig with him. And I remember my wife answered the phone, and they said, Olden in the way, she said, you putting me on? And they said, no. And Peter said something about with the Grateful Dead. She said, Grateful what? And she'd never heard anything about country, very young people like that. That was it. Anyway, we went to Boston to rehearse one night, and we started out on the gig the next day. And I still didn't know. I just met him, you know, as far as this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. So we did about, I don't know, 6 weeks or something, and we finally were out in California. And I saw this big billboard sign with, if you're going by, Grateful Dead. And I said, Garcia, that looks a lot like you up there. That's when I knew who he was. That's the way that happened. I think I'm supposed to do a thing with Jerry New Year's Eve. So I hear. I'm not sure, but I think that we're going to do that. San Francisco? Yeah. And I don't know. It could happen.
Vassar, I can't help noticing that your headstock is a trifle unusual. I wonder what the story is behind that.
You know, I don't know. Really, the story behind this. John Hartford gave me this in 1971, I believe it was. And well, Byron has got a.
I can tell you.
You tell me more about it than I can.
This is a. I think yours is probably a French instrument. Wouldn't you say?
It's supposed to be a Doofenshmirtz or whatever?
Doofenbrigard, Gaspard Doofenbrigard is a fellow who years ago was one of the first guys to, well, a lot of people say he was the first guy to make a violin, but that's not true. I don't think he made any. He made viols and stuff like that way back when. One of the guys who got famous for making these was a guy named Villaume, a French maker. And then a lot of Germans, of course, got on the bandwagon and copied those, a lot of them, and so on and so forth. And there's a few of them around. You'll see quite a few of them around here, and there's more than you think. But the real good ones, there's not too many good ones around, and some, especially the French ones. Those are the most sought after. And but that's what they are. And they ornamented them a lot. And a lot of the old viols and stuff like that were very ornamented. A lot of them. And Doofenbrigard, which is the guy's name. That's supposedly him up there. A lot of them, I have one with his picture engraved right in the back, and they always put the city right here.
See, I don't know if this is supposed to be him or what.
Yeah, that's probably it.
But the one you got, I'm sure is a good fiddle. And John has got another one. Harper's got another one. This is a real good fiddle. And there's about 4 of them that I know of that really sounds good.
So that's what the history of those are. They're probably made in middle 1800s or so. We probably could. Our time's just about out, I think. Probably got time for 1 or 2 more, maybe. My fiddle's brand new. This one here was made by a friend of mine. I just got it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. A guy up in Oregon made it, and he just started making fiddles not too long ago. His name is Dean Trammell. And he lives in Decorah, California.
What do you look for in tone in the fiddle?
Well, that's kind of a personal thing, really.
I would love to hear Vassar play a fiddle tone. He's hearing my mouth is watering. Am I gonna not hear that?
Oh yeah, we're gonna play another one. We're just trying to talk a lot. You know, it's yeah, we're gonna play something. I was just trying to figure out. Let's play. See, I can't even think of the names of them.
Roanoke. Yeah. But if anybody, I collect fiddles and sell them and trade them and stuff. If you guys looking for a fiddle, I've got one here just for you.
And you better work fast, cause he's gonna will them to me if he goes before I do.
Yeah. Well, let's fiddle. Since we both played with Bill Monroe, we'll do another one of his. Roanoke.
He hadn't done that in a long time.
I know.
Really.
Any more questions right before we have to close this thing down here? Way back there?
How have you heard Texas contest style fiddling change through the years from the time when you first started going out with your daddy to what
Yeah.
you hear if you head out to Weisser these days?
Yeah, I haven't been to Weezer for a long time, but I've been to a few of the contests. It's just gotten, I think Mark O'Connor took it to another level, and Terry Morris, the late Terry Morris, took it to another level and stuff like that. The younger kids, they just took what they learned from the first generation, or whatever generation it was, of the old Texas fiddlers that I remember knowing, like the Solomons and Benny Thomason and people like that. And actually, and I, in my estimation, improved it even more, you know, and gotten better. And it's certainly enthused a lot of young players. I know that. That style of fiddling has really come on strong, and about every contest you go to these days, that's the style they play, pretty much. And a lot of people, whether they like it or not, you know, I mean, that's the way it is, and it is a good style, I think, and it gives them a chance to expand out a little more, I guess. That's probably the reason they like it. But it has, well, I don't know how to, just improved upon, I guess, the word you might use. So, yes?
I'd like to know what kind of strings you use, why you like what you use.
Okay, this type of strings we use, that's different fiddles accept strings differently, and it depends on the kind of the way you want to hear it. I know Vassar uses Yarger strings. Those are a softer type string, more of a real soft. Even when you put them out of the package, they're very limp and loose. Now, you know, when you like a harder steel string, when you undo it, they'll kind of uncoil on you, you might say, and they're a lot of more of a harder string. This is a string called Prim, which is a Swedish string. And you can usually tell by a string what kind it is by looking at the color at the end of it. They all have different colors, which kind of give it a certain code of what they are a lot of times. But his, I can tell he's got the blue wrapping, and mine are green, and the Tomastics are black usually. And
You're right though. A different fiddle will take a different kind of string. You don't know till you try them and see. Because I couldn't hardly find the right kind. I did use Tomastic rope core, and I ordered some quite a while back, and they sent me the Tomastic middle, and they didn't work at all. So I looked for some strings, and the Yarger or whatever you call them is the only ones that did the fiddle sounds real good with.
a lot of fiddlers, a very popular string is the dominant Tomastic ones, which is kind of a purlong string. But I like the Prim. They're a good all-around string. A little more brighter for bluegrass and stuff. That's what I like. But I've used all kinds. I got fiddles with bows on there, and dominants on there, and all kinds. Okay?
Anything but Eagle Brand. Y'all don't remember those, do you? You used to buy them at a drugstore. They'd tear your fingers up.
Right. The question is like, what was it like playing with Graham Parsons? Well, I don't know exactly how to answer that. It was fun. I mean, he went to my house to rehearse for his albums, and we were friends, that close enough friends. And he had a lot of soul in his delivery and the songs that he wrote and that he sang. And it was it's a shame that he had to leave us, but that's where it goes. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was kind of new to me, the recording industry then. It was in the early 70s and very early 70s. But I mean, I wish I had a chance to do it again with him. It would have been, I know I could have played a lot better, I hope.
Play us one more tune?
Okay. We'll figure out something we can do for you. I don't know. Let's do something.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Bill Cheatham.
Musical elements. They put them together in a brand new way, and they